Fatima, hi, good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How long is it since we last had our session?
I guess it's been a while. I don't remember, but yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, maybe 6 weeks or something like that. Because we
Yeah,
had we had two sessions, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the most natural thing to do is to ask you how you're doing, and perhaps it could be a good place to start is for you to just tell a little bit about what things were like before we started working together and how things are like now that we've done a couple of sessions. So just so we have a contrast.
Okay, so before I started working with you, I was very reactive. Okay, I wasn't aware of my actions, and I used to talk about triggers and all of that. And then when I started taking your sessions, and then I did, flip back to my old patterns. But then after you gave me that teddy bear reference and that's that analogy was very eye-opening for me, and that really changed a lot of things for me. And whenever something happens, I take a step back and look at it without the filters of my beliefs, without the filters of my values, and just observing what is happening and taking the feedback from the environment and then assessing it very neutrally, not with the lens of my own beliefs or my own patterns. And that has made me more conscious and more aware of my actions and my responses.
Very good, very good. So could you just give us a little bit of meat on the table in terms of how anger was an issue for you, but before we met and started working?
Okay, so as I told you, I was very reactive. My anger used to be uh, almost almost to a point of rage. I used to react instantly. I used to yell. I used to like hit. I used to be that angry person. But after taking your sessions, I now realize that sometimes letting go is where you have the control. Like where because I was trying to control everything. The fear was there. The control within me. Just to control everything. The thing about power was within me, and then thinking about all those things in a very neutral sense and not observing the event as something that is triggering me, but the event as being itself, right? Not just uh thinking as, again, the lens part again, like not wearing those glasses of those beliefs and taking them off and looking at the things in a very neutral perspective really gave me insight to what I was doing. So anger, that problem that I had was I was being very reactive, and now I am not reactive anymore. I respond to it.
Cool. Very, very cool. And have you been able to not be violent at all in terms of these sorts of situations?
Yes, yes,
That is awesome. That's a huge game changer.
yeah.
Any other key takeaways you would like to mention in terms of insights or what you've discovered or
So one another key takeaway was when you're in the moment, okay, and when you're heated, like you're human, right? You get heated up, but
yep.
just knowing, like there's a very tiny window, as we discussed. I remember in that session, there's a very tiny window. And in that tiny window, you make a decision, you make a choice, you have that choice. Even though if it's a tiny window, you can still make a choice. And then me taking control over myself instead of taking control over the situation really helped. Me having that small window and making a decision to not react that way and to respond differently made a whole lot of difference. It was a game changer, like really. That
Yeah.
was a big one too. That was a big one too. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And you said that the teddy bear analogy really hit home for you. Would you describe a little bit about like what you discovered from that or what you took from it?
you know, like when you described me, like teddy bear is just a piece of cloth, but when your child wants it, like they'll cry for it, they'll just want it because it's soothing them, it's their comfort. And like you give it meaning, right? You give meaning to whatever. So like my daughter has this cat, and she has given that meaning of comfort, of love, of security to that cat, and it's just a piece of cloth. But and then, putting that whole example into my life, and what meaning am I giving to a situation, meaning am I giving to my child, and what am meaning am I giving to life in all of its, beauty, right? And then even though if there are emotions of all kinds, right, especially anger that I struggled with, so I gave the anger the example of the teddy bear. I was like, okay, so like, my daughter, okay, she is a source of comfort for me, okay? And then why do I get angry with her, when she's a source of comfort? And then, oh, what am I putting onto her? Like, what am I projecting onto her? Am I projecting something? For instance, uh, like if I'm afraid of a dog, right? If I'm afraid of a dog, it's all the fear is not within the dog, right? It's within me that I'm projecting onto the dog, right?
Mm.
So there was this anger within me, there was this fear within me that I was projecting it onto her. So with this analogy, I try to make a separation between the reality and between what I'm projecting onto it. So in
Right.
that way, it kind of helped me realize what I'm
Yes.
doing. Yeah.
That's quite simply awesome. As I always say, it's always the client who creates the change. I'm just a tour guide. I'm just a tour guide who says, look at this. I'll give you some analogies. I'll give you some thought experiments. I'll help you discover some stuff. But the change itself is always up to the client. So great job. I'm very glad we could have those sessions. I'm grateful that you're sharing this, with seminar participants, and if there's if you need any help or anything, we're here. Feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, Oregon, because really, like you were the tour guide and you really did lead me to the right road, I would say, because I was astray and I was like, okay, where do I go now? But yeah, thank you so much for shedding light onto that path that I'm now
Yeah,
working on.
it
Yeah,
does. It does help to have a good tour guide, and there is some artistry and skill in terms of
yeah,
being a good tour guide too. So,
yeah.
a final question that I like to ask, because people very often focus on, the methods and the so-called agents of change. But given that it's always the client who makes the change, what is it that you think that you brought to the table that enabled you to be that effective with the work in terms of
Mm,
your mindset coming in?
yeah, like,
Because not all people change.
yeah, that's right, that's right. Meditating on those points that you sent me that video and really understanding everything that you explained. And then, when you also talked about, you being your ideal self, how would you like your ideal self to be? And my ideal self, when I imagine my ideal self, I would not be wanting to do those things I was doing earlier, right? And then me taking a step back and stepping into that person who I want to become my ideal self, and just stepping into that person for a moment literally shifts my physiology. And when it shifts my physiology, the action that I'm going to do completely changes.
Hmm,
So yeah, that I feel that I have been doing the work as well that you've told me, because doing the work is important, right? It's just not
hmm,
something that we talk one day and it just like vanishes. It's not magic,
right,
right?
right, right.
You got to do the work. You got to choose every day. It's a choice you have every day, every time, and you got to make it happen for yourself, and stay consistent with the choice that you have opted for. So yeah, taking small actions, and because I did stumble upon the way, and as I told you guys that I'm not, it's not happening properly, it's not working or something. But then again, I tried again, and then making small changes really helped. And because it was very difficult for me to make a big change, it's just like suddenly shift. I can't suddenly shift. So I took the time, because I took like it's been like quite a while since we did the last session, so I took time to actually break it into my physiology, into my mindset, and to become who I am now. So yeah.
Good. Well, thank you, and stay in touch.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.